Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. Today, my guest is Ashley Weisman. Ashley is from GreenLight Solutions, a great local group. And the question here for everyone today is, what if sustainability solutions could be student powered? And that's really what this thing is about. We're talking with Ashley on how to explore education, innovation, and community partnerships, and how they're lighting the path to a greener future. So welcome, Ashley. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Appreciate you coming. Yeah. You're kind of the driving force now behind the organization, the CEO. You've been there for about 5 years. I think GreenLight was established a little before you got there. I can't remember. Do you know how long ago it's been in the Valley? It's about 10 years or so?
Yeah, about 12 years. We started the organization in 2013. It was founded.
Right. So you guys are leading students. So where do the students come from? Are they college students, high school students, all of the above?
Yeah, so really our two main programs. Our first program is our student-led sustainability projects, or our GreenLight Bootcamps, where we partner students with businesses to collaborate on sustainability projects.
Okay.
And it's great for students because they gain that applied learning. They get out in the field and get those workforce practical skills and relevant experience in the sustainability field.
So they're working on it's kind of a better thing than an internship, although I'm sure some of this turns into internships, but you're really a project by project based, which is what the real world is, right? We have a project we've got to get in or install or whatever we're doing. So that part of it is kind of cool. Is it mostly college college kids?
Mostly college students. We talked about getting into the high schools as well. So
how does it work? Do they get credits at times for this kind of work?
They do not. However, students that go through our program leave our program with an entire resume filled with relevant real-world sustainability experience. So you can't get that in the classroom.
That's great. And they can put it on their resume that they were working in an organization like this. So what inspired you to do this? Well, how did you get involved?
Gosh, I was a student in the program, actually. I started in 2016. I was passionate about sustainability, and they haven't been able to get rid of me since.
So this can be a physical thing, but it can also be sitting at your computer and helping a company get awareness out there. Or this was so funny. You talk about a couple of the projects you've done.
Yeah, so one project that I love speaking to is our dynamic real estate project. And that project is where our students actually created a database of 190 sustainability resources across the U.S. It's an interactive map. So whenever you go to this real estate company's website, it shows that company really cares about sustainability. So anyone going to that real estate website can gain those sustainability resources. That's one I love to talk about. We also did a project called Build Us Hope. Hope stands for housing opportunities provided for everyone. And that's when we developed 3 tiny homes, actually built 3 tiny homes for once homeless veterans, and then housed those tiny homes with veterans.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So basically a lot of what you're doing is aligning with the UN sustainability goals, right? And so housing is certainly on the forefront. How about, you said that you were also involved with waste diversion. Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, so our other program is our Green Team, where we maximize waste diversion from the landfill. So that's when we go into events of all sizes, whether it's 50 people, whether it's 50,000 people, and we help them to maximize recycling, composting, food rescue, waste sorting. We have our staff going through every piece of trash that goes through that event to make sure that is maximized.
So you do it on an event by event basis, and you try to educate people who are throwing their waste out that this is what you're doing today, and that kind of thing. What kind of I'm sure, because your students are transitory. They start and then they finish and they're gone.
Yeah.
What kind of number do you have with people involved at any one time?
Yeah, so, well, I'll give an example of an event we did recently. It was for Pat's Run. The Pat Tillman Foundation does their run every year. It's 30,000 people, and we diverted 13 tons from the landfill on that day. So, yeah, scary that much waste can be created in one race.
So, wow, how many people did you have sign up for that event, for instance?
Yeah, so we had 100 volunteers.
Oh my God!
Raising awareness, standing at the bin, saying, hey, that's recyclable, that's compostable, just giving people that awareness and new sustainable habits that they can have at the event, helping us with the diversion, but also sustainable habits that they can leave with.
You know, it's amazing that even one person can have a big effect, right? So
yeah.
If you're a computer programmer and you help build like that interactive map, for instance, or if you're in marketing and you're helping a company work through its brand and work through some of its own sustainability practices, you know, you can have a major impact just as one, but you've got 100 people at any one particular event, which is also kind of cool, and it's fun for a student because, you know, they're balancing and juggling jobs and hobbies and sports and everything with their school.
Yep.
So the ability for them to say, okay, I can do this one project. And so some of your projects are literally one day, and some of them take maybe a whole semester. Is that kind of true?
Yeah. So our GreenLight Bootcamps, this is actually something that we'll be collaborating with UFE on. It's a 5-week program. It's 10 workshops. So 2 workshops per week for 5 weeks, and the students learn about sustainability project management. They receive the sustainability challenge from the business, and then we take them through our sustainability curriculum, where they learn how to take a project from ideation through implementation. Everything from, okay, this is the challenge. How do you create a vision, mission, objectives, strategies, tactics, and tools? How do you create KPIs? What are KPIs? These are things that you're supposed to know on day one of your career.
Well,
that GreenLight really fills this gap in practical skills and sustainability.
Cool. And the idea is that as a corporation, sustainability means more efficiency. Sustainability means more engagement with your employees and with the community, right? So it's not like a tax. It's not like this hard thing for people to do. So for organizations, what organizations do you typically see that you work with that and that you've had an impact on?
Yeah, so we've worked with over 70 businesses over the past decade. We've worked with nonprofits, real estate, retail, local farms. It really just shows how sustainability is for everyone and can be applied to businesses of all sizes and in every sector.
So we're not just helping out our community and in different businesses, but you're also mentoring students, and it's part of their education is more or less the way you treat it, because they're learning about KPIs, learning about execution, which it's a real world thing, right? Instead of just theoretical stuff that you might get at school.
Exactly.
You're going to be working with UFE on our ecotourism. How do you approach something like that?
Yeah, so that was something that we're going to be sharing with our students. We have over 400 students that we've trained over the past 10 years. So we'll be sharing that opportunity with them. And then we'll also be collaborating on a GreenLight Bootcamp. We're actually having UFE be the featured project partner. And we have 15 students visiting us all the way from Japan, from Nanzan University, and they will be learning all of the steps of sustainability project management and then also implementing that project for UFE simultaneously.
Wow. Okay. So how does this, I mean, part of this is environmental as well, right? And sustainability. And I think there's some taboo nowadays to even talk about climate change. But how do you work with students, and how do you talk about that? How do they, do you see that they're actually interested in how they can have an impact, and how do you do that? What are you working on with that?
Yeah, I think we really teach students how to have that business perspective on sustainability, because I think that's another gap in higher education in the sustainability.
Sure.
Yeah. So, how can you, in every decision, how do you put the 3 pillars into every decision? People, planet, profit. How do you make sure that you're speaking to increased bottom line, increased risk management, increased efficiency, employee retention, consumer demand? Because you and I know the intrinsic value, right? And but being able to speak to those things is really what can really make that impact.
Yeah. So I think what we're talking about is taking, and we talk about this all the time, taking existing models that are not really sustainable or efficient, and taking those models and replacing them with models that are practical. They're economic, and so they do actually work, right? So it's a new model, but it's a matter of changing the way, the perspective of business and of the students, and how the students. So what do you do? I know there's a lot of people are overwhelmed by the idea of climate change. How do you work with students when it comes to that, when they come in and they just are feeling like there's nothing they can do?
I think it's important to remind everyone that we have the solutions available, right? Like the natural solutions, the technological solutions, they all exist, right? But then also to know not to work in silos and not to reinvent the wheel. I find that as a big thing.
That's the hardest part. And this is why at UFE we see ourselves as collaborators. We see ourselves as wanting to work with more and more nonprofits. NGOs is what they're called when we're out of the country. But and GreenLight Solutions is a perfect partner for us. We have another great partner coming up on another podcast that's doing a lot of work with foodscapes in Arizona, and we work with partners in Africa as well. We could have more impact working together. The silo thing is a real deal, because we all have these lofty goals, and then we end up with our own egos getting involved. So what makes you hopeful? And what would you say is a call to action for our listeners today?
Yeah, so I think every cohort of students that comes into our program makes me hopeful. They are so brilliant and passionate and innovative, and they teach me everything. They teach me every day. But just the energy that they bring to these solutions really brings me a lot of hope.
How do we get people who are listening today, and hopefully there's students, because there's a lot of schools and a lot of students. How do we encourage them to get engaged? What is your typical, pitch talking to students?
Yeah, so, not only students can get involved. So we work
That's
with...
great to know. So this is anybody who's interested in being part of a solution rather than complaining about it, can jump in, right? And use whatever skill sets they have So, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so for youth, you can apply to be on a project. Of course, you gain that applied experience and career readiness skills. And for professionals, you can apply to be a mentor on a project, to mentor the students. You can also apply for your business or your workplace to do a project with us. You can also, as a professional, volunteer at our green events. So you can be a bin guard standing at those bins, educating folks on which bin to use at events. But then you can also be a staff member at our green team events. We have paid positions as well.
So you have basically the ability for someone to come in, check it out, get a little bit of, you do a little bit of training with them, right? To show them what you're all about, how to do things. But if their time is really limited in a particular semester, or somebody in business, if they're busy for a few months, they can hold off. But then you have projects. So how do you pick projects? How do you, and then how do you engage the students? How do you make them aware that you exist? Do you go to, I guess at the beginning of the year, there's clubs and tables with all the different clubs. Is that part of how you engage?
We do. We also work directly with colleges. So, any college that has any type of environmental program or sustainability program, we're always looking to do more GreenLight Bootcamps at more colleges. And with businesses, we co-create that project scope with the business in order to make it, doable for the students, and also achieve something really great and envision the possibilities together.
Yeah, I don't know what your thought is, but I know that some programs actually will give a credit hour for something like this, or they can put it on a resume as, I know my daughter was in medicine, and they had a global health minor that they could put on their resume that really was talking about international stuff. So with UFE, you guys get to go international. So hopefully we'll see some of your students out there leading the tour, so to speak, or the adventure, so to speak. So, a lot of cool things. Definitely want to get involved with you guys on a lot of the stuff we're working on, because we need, we do a lot of research, and that's where you guys can actually come in too, with some of the stuff you have, because we're all somewhat limited. You're not really limited in staff, because you can have 100 people at one event. And the idea is, I think, going forward, is to see more and more of this. Now, I know USC, my daughter went to USC, and they also had international travel. She could take a class on, a very short class on Russian culture, and then take a trip. And they had a lot of endowments at USC, so a lot of that trip was paid for, and that kind of thing. Do you see GreenLight moving in a direction like that, where you're really partnering with schools and getting another benefit from that helps you engage more and more students?
Absolutely. I think that we've really just hit the tip of the iceberg with our student program. We've trained over 400 students. We've implemented 96 sustainability projects over the past decade.
Wow.
But gosh, I could see that go exponentially higher, over the past next decade.
Because there's Arizona State, for instance, is the largest university, I think, in the country. I don't even know. What do they have, like 100,000 kids now?
Yeah.
80, something crazy, right? And then we work a lot with Grand Canyon University. They've got a phenomenal partner, and just the whole vibe there is so positive, and so I think engaged in solutions for the world. So that's, not only do you have lofty solutions, but it's really good for students as well. So I think that's the kind of the future growth. Hopefully, with us, we get you some really cool projects, and we're able to help you with expanding your reach. And, as we start getting involved with more universities too, it's the whole idea is how to engage students further and further, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the next generation of sustainability leaders. And I think we're both passionate about giving people a platform to be able to make change, right? That's really why we exist. Getting all the partners together and giving them the resources and the support and the education to be able to be effective sustainability change agents on day one of their careers.
And I have that UFE, which is a nonprofit, and you are engaged in this, but everything has to run on some kind of funding. How do you get your funding? And maybe a quick plug today for somebody who's really interested in a positive education for kids, but also, the whole engagement in business. And how do you get your funding? Through a lot of these companies that you're helping? Is that primarily it, or do the schools chip in at all?
Yeah. So the colleges and also the green events, of course, as an operational expense for their event. We also do all the custodial for the event. So, of course, that's something that they're already paying for, that we just put that sustainability twist on it, right? Most of our funding does come from our green team services, from those clients. But then also donations, sponsors. We love working with businesses as sponsors to amplify their exposure and their visibility in the sustainability space, shed a spotlight on their sustainability efforts, and just help them to be able to make our impact possible and be a part of that.
Are you working with other nonprofits?
We're always working with other nonprofits, and multiple businesses at any time.
How about there's a lot of, when we say business, there's a lot of business. You just mentioned real estate.
Yeah.
Are you working with farmers or with, manufacturers or shopping malls? I mean, pretty much you can work with any group out there, right? But so far, what are you seeing as a good mix?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of nonprofits, a lot of real estate. We have worked with colleges. We've worked with ASU on multiple projects, worked with solar companies, handful of solar companies. It really is a wide range of businesses that we work with. Same with events. We've partnered with marathons, with music festivals, with corporate events, and then really every type of event in between.
I love, when I go to the events, I love seeing that as part of, something that's more than just the event. I used to do a lot of triathlon, and when you're there at that event, to see something like this, like, hey, today's event, we're not going to throw stuff all over the ground. We're cleaning up, but we're also diverting a lot of that waste to the correct location. For me personally, I love it. And I see it. It's interesting. Whenever Japan is in a World Cup soccer event, you can see at the end of that game, there's 300 people walking through the stadium, cleaning the stadium. Nobody's asked them to do it. They get permission to do it, but it's just great to see people coming together to do that kind of thing. And when you're talking about businesses, sure, there's businesses that are focused on sustainability, solar companies, maybe compost companies, but any business has the ability to transform itself. And usually there's positive economic benefits for them to do that, right?
And something I speak to businesses a lot about, because we also do sustainability seminars where we go into businesses, we do lunch and learns, teach them about sustainability. And one thing I always teach businesses is, hey, no matter what industry, no matter what sector, no matter what department or job function, if you have a sustainability mindset and a sustainability skill set, you will do your job better. You will bring more value to your job, to the community that you're embedded in, bring more value to the organization and to your client. no matter what role you have. So really just expanding that understanding that sustainability is not just for the green team or for the sustainability department, it's for everyone.
And what's kind of cool is, as a business, I'm always leery of consultants coming in and trying to tell me to do this and that, and they're really just trying to get in my pocket. You guys are a nonprofit. You've got young students. You've got also professionals that are mentors, but you have like an organization of people who really do care and know. And so it's great for any business to engage you because they can certainly give you a small donation, which would make sense, but they can, any business, and we've got a lot of good business, big business in Arizona, and it's really for any of those businesses to call you up and get you engaged. It's great. It's great for them, and it's kind of, I'm not going to say free because they should.
It's affordable,
but it's very affordable. And you're coming in on a project by project basis. One thing could be analyzing their business model and walking through that, but then also getting them to engage with their own employees, which is great for employee retention, by the way. It's kind of a team building thing, right? And we do team building as well at UFE. So we've got a lot of things we're going to continue to engage with you in, and we do a lot of our summits at the universities as well. So really looking forward to, more and more involvement with you. Have you been to Africa?
I have not.
You've never been on a safari?
I can't wait to one day.
Okay, well, if you can get some students to come in and join you, we'd love to have you over there. Our Zimbabwe trip is the one we're currently pushing because we have a partner in Zimbabwe that is Run Wild Africa, and that particular trip is really cost effective compared to most travel trips.
I saw that.
Not even $4,000, but you got transportation while you're there, you get housing while you're there, you get food while you're there, but it literally changes your world for you wherever it goes, right? You go on 2 safaris, seeing nature the way it was thousands of years ago. And I really see how some of the students that you're working with would love that experience because it is a different world. I mean, we're part of the world here. We think the world revolves, no matter where you are.
No.
The world is revolving around you in Phoenix or, you in Detroit, Michigan, or wherever you're from. But really, it's a much bigger world, and having that context was great for students as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to, sustainability. It's, it's disconnected in terms of where the impact is being had and where it's felt, or where it's, where the results are of the impact.
Sure.
So, I think that's really important to expand your worldview.
I had another question on this. Now, you're locally based in Arizona, but do you ever see yourself expanding, and or do you have, we have a nationwide or international group of people. How would are you set up yet to engage? If I'm a student in Switzerland and I want to do some of the things you're doing, do you have a package that you can tell me and help me with? Can you expand like that? It seems like you could.
Yeah, so our GreenLight Bootcamps, like I mentioned, we've worked with Japanese students for the past 4 summers. But then also, we have done projects in Malawi, for example. We weren't boots on the ground, unfortunately, but we were working closely with an organization there to support their irrigation and composting efforts in their village in northwest Karonga. So,
okay, sure, we've come there. We've got projects up there.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna have to come to Auckland.
Yeah.
No question about it. And the boots on the ground is a fun thing. It's a completely different experience if you do that. But the idea. Have you been to Japan?
I have not.
Japan is so much further ahead of us.
Blue zone.
Oh yeah, they just walking through any particular neighborhood or riding on the train system There is not any wasted space. There's no garbage. You go to Tokyo, largest city on the planet of 45,000 people. I'll give you money for every piece of garbage you can find because you can't find it. To me, there's places in the world like Norway, like Copenhagen, Denmark,
Germany,
Japan, that they have energy solutions, but the people really are engaged in. It's a different culture, and it's one that I think you and I are both hoping that we can see here. Without pushing values onto people. It's just getting them aware that it's available, right?
And understanding how sustainability affects them. It's always not in my backyard, right? But understanding how sustainability affects you and your children, your children's children.
Great. Well, Ashley, I appreciate you coming today. You're going to be on more and more podcasts. We'll get some of the other groups you're working with to come on, and I definitely hope if you don't have anybody going this year, because we got a little bit of late start this year, but next year we should have, several trips going to Africa. But we've got a lot of other things we're engaged with with you guys, with our conferences and all of that stuff. So, Ashley Weisman, GreenLight Solutions, and you guys can look up their website, and pretty much anybody can get involved with it. So I hope what we're doing here today helps you in your cause as well.
Thank you. And same with UFE. We're excited to partner more.
All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.